Hey, Barn Busters, good to have you with us on Red Barn Radio. I'm Brad Becker. We continue to celebrate the 20th season of Red Barn Radio, and tonight we welcome you to show number 779. I bet you didn't know you were on show 779. Stillhouse Junkies is a one-of-a-kind creative project born out of the collective passions of three individuals with very different musical backgrounds, with chops and stylistic leanings ranging from classical to West African, blues, bluegrass, and swing. This trio was winner of the 2021 IBMA Momentum Band of the Year Award, 2018 and 2019 Telluride Band Contest finalists, third and second place, Gray Fox Bluegrass Festival showcase artists, and showcase artists at both the 2020 and 2021 IBMA World of Bluegrass. How about that? And now they're here with us on Red Barn Radio, and we could not be more pleased. I give you the Stillhouse Junkies.
Left that day from Leadville with a backpack and a map. Swore you won't be coming round again no more. Was a cold day in September, put a note into your back. Said I love you, wish you'd done a little more. Keep you near and hold your fears at bay, and I knew you wouldn't stay. But I just hope you keep your head out of the rain. And I know you won't look back, and I can't blame you none for that. We just go back to the way things were before. You remember, I'm 5 doors down in Leadville and you're a million miles away. Said, please remember, 5 doors down in Leadville and the light is on for you to find your way. Come on. Western sky, you're lost with all the light. No more stars to lead you safe back to your bed. Well, it's a different kind of cold with all the steel and iron roads. The way the sun shines through a pane of tempered glass. You remember, I'm 5 doors down in Leadville and you're a million miles away. Said, please remember, 5 doors down in Leadville and the light is on for you to find your way. Began to fall. Only 14 months without St. Isabel. Little house on Hazel Street, hardwood floor under your feet. Smell of coal over by the railroad yard. You remember, I'm 5 doors down in Leadville and you're a million miles away. Said, please remember, 5 doors down in Leadville, 5 doors down in Leadville, 5 doors down in Leadville, and the light is on for you to find your way. Thanks, y'all. Thank you.
Good evening and welcome to
that
Red
was a
Barn
song
Radio.
called Five Doors
Wherever
Down.
in the world you're listening, welcome to Roots Music Southern Style. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn Radio's official radio partner, NPR for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. Red Barn Radio is supported by Visit Lex, Lexington, Kentucky's Convention and Visitors Bureau. More information on what Lexington has to offer is at visitlex.com. LexArts, Lexington, Kentucky's premier cultural development, advocacy, and fundraising organization, working for the development of a strong and vibrant arts community as a means of enhancing the quality of life in Central Kentucky. Follow Red Barn Radio on Twitter and like us on Facebook. Here's the host of Red Barn Radio to tell us more about tonight's performers.
If you're just joining us, you are listening this evening on Red Barn Radio to Stillhouse Junkies. Born out of a long-standing weekly residency at a local distillery in Durango, Colorado, Stillhouse Junkies have quickly become a music scene staple in Colorado and the Four Corners region in the southwestern U.S. Through their strong writing and creative, intricate arranging, the Junkies have built up an eclectic musical set catalog of original music that reflects their diverse interests and knack for fashioning the familiar into something new. The Stillhouse Junkies are Alissa Wolf on violin, Cody Tinnin on bass, Fred Kosak on guitar and mandolin, and everybody singing. Let's return now to more music with the Stillhouse Junkies.
Thank you. On the farm in Haskell Town, Pa grew corn and worked the ground. We had Kansas in our blood, grew up strong and lean. Wilson won back in 16, said he'd keep our sailors free. Then a German submarine sent the world to war. When the long shadows come, I won't be the only one standing here with my head in my hands. I've been luckier than some at the races and one. Had to throw out my best laid plans here in Haskell Town. All right. Excellent. Well, thanks for joining us, everyone, in studio and in the internet world. We're Stillhouse Junkies. We are from Durango, Colorado. We're really happy to be here with y'all today. Those first two songs were a couple off an upcoming album we've got coming out. We'll tell you guys more about that later. The first one is called 5 Doors Down in Leadville, and that last one there is called Haskelltown. It's loosely based on the 1918 pandemic and how it's kind of widely accepted now that it actually originated in Kansas and not in Spain, and that we inadvertently sent it to Europe when we entered World War I. But I'll let you guys do your own Wikipedia research for the rest of that.
That's Cody Tinnin singing for you, everybody. We're going to do one of mine, a little Western swing number about heartbreak on the dance floor. This is called Two-Stepping on My Heart Again. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3, 4. It was Friday night and we hit the floor. There was something missing that was there before. Your door-to-door door was feeling slow, and you kept stepping on my toes. Made me feel just like a fool out there in all my fancy clothes. Well, I asked you what was eating you. Was it something that I said or something I forgot to do? Oh, but you turned your back on me. I guess you had a better place to be. Let me feel it like that waltz in Tennessee. Now it's 1 step forward, but it's 2 steps back. 'Cause we must have lost the rhythm and our love and off the tracks. You got me turned around till I just can't win. You've been 2-stepping on my heart again. Ah-ha. Country songs to wonder how the story ends. You did the lowest that you could and kept on heading for that road. I'd come around to pick you up, someone else got there before. Now I'd love to tell you that I'm over you, and I'm still here until that music's through. Without it the way it goes, it's just like everybody knows. Ain't no stepping when you can't come up to. Now it's 1 step forward, but it's 2 steps back. 'Cause we must have lost the rhythm and our love and off the tracks. You got me turned around till I just can't win. You've been 2-stepping on my heart again. You got me turned around till I just can't win. You've been 2-stepping on my heart again. Oh, thanks so much. What a treat to be here. Remembering what humidity is, we just drove out from Denver the last 2 days, and our instruments are happy, maybe happier than we are. But you know what? When it's humid and hot, you just are warmed up to begin with. We don't really have to warm up, we find.
That's right.
Out in Colorado, it's like a minimum of a half an hour of playing, or you'll sprain a wrist or something. Well, that was Alissa Wolf on the fiddle, fiddling for y'all, playing all those fancy notes. And we're gonna do one of my favorite songs ever written. Unfortunately, not by yours truly. This is a Hunter Garcia classic, and one that we have been playing for a long time, and we never get tired of it. We play this almost every show we do. Send this one out to the any deadheads tuning into the broadcast here, which I suspect
Hi,
there may be
Dad.
at least several of. This is an NPR situation, after all. So. Yeah, Alyssa's dad being one of them, for sure. shack in Bigfoot County. Snowed so hard that the roof caved in. Delilah Jones went to meet her God, and the old man never was the same again. Daddy made a whiskey and he made it well. Cost $2 and it burned like hell. I cut hickory just to fire the still. Drink down and bottle and you're ready to kill. Branded women and red grenadine. The battle was dusty but the liquor was green. Son of thunder, that rain pouring down, and it looks like the old man is gone. Come on. figure that you can plow the fields around. Gone are the days when the lady said, please, Jen and Jack Jones, won't you come to me? Granddad, Granddad, and Red Grenadine. The bottle was dusty, but the liquor was clean. The sound of thunder, that rain pouring down, and it looks like the old man's getting on. Yeah, it looks like the old man's getting on.
Alissa Wolf. Thank you.
All right. Well, let me just grab my jaw off the floor for a second and have a conversation.
Nah.
Wow. Yeah, that was wonderful.
Thank you, man.
Thank you.
This dynamic trio you're listening to, if you're just joining us, is Stillhouse Junkies. They're from Durango, Colorado. They've won lots of awards. We talked about them earlier. 2021 IBM A Momentum Band of the Year and two-time Telluride Bluegrass Band Contest finalists, huh? Can you imagine them being a finalist and not being the actual winners? That's kind of difficult for me to
I can imagine
conceive of that. Not,
I was there, man.
well, let's call finalists like amazing. So congratulations on
you.
all that you guys have accomplished. And what amazing music is just the dynamics are terrific. The endurance you guys have. I cannot imagine your calluses.
Oh, thank you, man. We're in
Yeah.
good shape right now, I'd say. For
Yeah?
Sure. We've been on the road a bunch. We're fresh off of our debut European tour, which was a dang blast. We just got back last week. We were over there the entire month of June, pretty much. So we've been playing a lot lately, and
Wow, so you're just back.
just back.
Yes.
I think we
All
got back
right.
a week
Exactly
today.
a week ago today.
Yeah. So we're mostly back to normal, although we spent our days off in the mountain time zone, and now we're no longer in that
Now
time
we're in
zone
the
either.
East-
So,
So what zone are you in? I like the zone you're in.
oh man, yeah, no, it's good,
Kind of
man.
a twilight zone of our own making. I would
Yeah.
say.
So your trip to Europe was your first,
Yeah,
but not the first time you planned it.
that is true.
Is that
That is
right? Yeah.
true.
So tell us about that.
So I think that that tour started getting put together in early 2019, I believe, and it started out as just a handful of UK dates and some Irish dates as well. And I think we were about a week away from flying out. We released an album on March 7th, 2020, and then about a week and a half after that is when we were set to fly over.
And one of you became ill
No.
at that time,
Yeah.
or many? Oh, right. that's
Something
right.
like that. Yeah.
Millions of us became
Yeah.
ill. Right.
We didn't until much later, but the problem wasn't us; it was everybody else. It kind of sums up this country right now.
Yeah. Hot take. But no, so we did. We, obviously, that was the first thing we canceled, so it was a tough pill to swallow. We had obviously been looking forward to it for a long time, and it was a milestone for us to have to put on the back burner, but alas, we finally made it, and we were able to tack on a festival in Ireland in the front part. We did a couple weeks in the UK van touring, and then we popped over to the Netherlands to play the Rotterdam Bluegrass Festival. So it actually ended up being great.
So those things weren't the Rotterdam
Yeah.
event wasn't in the cards for the first round.
Exactly. We were going to go over in the spring the first time around, and then when we were able to reschedule, it ended up falling in June, which is just a better festival time. So it worked out.
Well, yeah. And so, I imagine it must have been very frustrating, and a lot of us had to change our plans, obviously. But that's a big deal, and you have that momentum going, you have everything practiced and ready to go. And what would you do instead? So after you got over sort of the morning,
The shock of it all.
and the shock of it, where did it go then?
Yeah, it kind of went to bourbon in the coffee at 9:30 a.m. for a little while, and then once that sort of subsided a little bit, once the self-pity part of it subsided, and we started to try to be constructive about the whole thing.
Yeah.
We actually started a little series of around town shows in Durango toward the end of April 2020. That we called the Rolling Junkies Review. And we got the idea from Amy Helm. She did I think she called it like a curb tour or something, where she would just drive around and get out of the van and play acoustically for whoever happened to show up. And we did it with a sign-up sheet all around the county, anywhere we could get to within a half an hour, basically. We would drive to people's houses and play a short set and then get back in the van and go to the next place. And initially we were doing it all for groups of 2 people. I think we played for 1 person a few times, just sitting in their carport. But we would play in driveways and on patios, and all socially distant. And there were no public gatherings really at all at that point. And as things loosened up, there would be block parties and larger groups of people. But it was really the only music happening in town, I think. And it kind of turned into a whole year-long thing. We ended up playing into November, when it finally got too cold to play outside. And I think all told, we played about 250 of those short sets.
250.
So, yeah, of these little half-hour sets. And we met all kinds of people around the area that we probably wouldn't have met without the pandemic. It was one of those silver linings of we were able to connect more with our local fan base than we would have done just by playing shows. And the next time we had a show in town, a lot of those people came out, so we kind of had all these new fans, and it was a really cool experience. And
Yeah, we were doing them on I guess Saturdays and Sundays, and we would stack 5 or 6 sets on each day. So we would do sometimes a dozen sets in a weekend, and it really did keep us in shape, and it kept our bills paid. Our local community really showed up for us, and we really appreciate that.
Did you? And you did that in lieu of routine practicing as a group. That was sort of a practice for you as well, and gave you an opportunity to get out and maybe, tweak some tunes and try some things that you might not try with a camera on you or a radio thing, whatever.
Yeah, and we got together and did other rehearsals around that too, just to work up new tunes. And I mean, we just created our own pod and spent time together to keep each other smiling.
Yeah, but we did. We were writing. Some of us were writing during that time. That song Haskelltown we did up at the top of the show was a COVID song. Obviously, it's 1980. I was just like on Wikipedia reading about the 1918 pandemic, and like noticing how much we haven't really learned in like 100 years, and then like just decided to write a song about it. So that's all that was. Yeah.
You guys write the tunes together? Some of the tunes?
We arrange them together. I think we bring ideas in a state of more or less being complete to the rest of the band, and then we kind of workshop them from there.
Okay.
As far as the instrumental parts and grooves, and there are quite a few cases of one of us bringing something to the others that ended up in a different place than it probably would have if the original writer had just laid everything out and said, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's kind of we finish songs together. We haven't really done any true co-writing, but we've done a lot of co-arranging and tweaking.
Yeah. Well, that seems to me like the most fun as musicians is that opportunity to sort of weave together the instrumental parts and the rhythms and everything else. And I don't know, co-writing always sounds complicated.
It can be.
To me.
Yeah,
It can
I think.
be.
Have you tried it before?
I mean, I've done a little bit of co-writing, mostly like with mentors who I'm asking them to give me feedback, but like serious feedback. So I can't really get hurt about it because I want that from them. But I think it can be harder when you're working with a peer and maybe you're not so open to that criticism or that advice.
Yeah, right.
But I've done some with mentors and it's worked out beautifully. So.
Yeah, I think my ego is too fragile to do that. I think I just need to do my own thing, and I've gone to some songwriter circles and kind of listened to the feedback people were giving, and a lot of it was like, I don't really agree with that.
Right.
It's like, I don't know how. I think it's all about if you find someone who's on your wavelength, then they know you and your style. But I think at some point we will certainly do that.
I mean, I think that is right. That's it right there, like finding people on your wavelength. I mean, the three of us met, and it just was such a random chance that we all ended up in Durango at the same time and met. And I think that in itself is kind of kismet. And that's like really what it is for each of the three of us, is the intimacy that we have as musicians together and the chemistry that we instantly kind of recognized when we started playing together. That's totally different. It's a different feeling. All of us have been in a lot of bands over the years, but I think when we got this trio going, we really recognized a different opportunity.
Tell the story of how the trio did get together. How did you guys make that happen?
Well, as you mentioned earlier, this started this was a weekly residency at a distillery in downtown Durango. It was the first gig. It was actually pre these two. It was just me and another musician in town that I had linked up with, and we were looking for somewhere to play. There's not a ton of options in Durango, and just through a mutual friend, we started doing this weekly Friday thing at this distillery. And then I had met these two right after I moved to Durango, and Alissa started sitting in, and after not very long, we just said, why don't you just be part of the band, such as it was. And then Cody, we had a different bass player, and we did a little bass swap and brought Cody on later that year. So it kind of was an organic thing, and it came out of this weekly, very informal. It was kind of our, Frankfurt, I guess. It was kind of like we kind of, had this, open-ended amount of time, and whoever happened to be stopping through, a lot of whom were not really paying attention to us. And so we got to workshop and try out all this music, and I think really kind of found our sound through that.
over the course of 80 some shows that we played there.
Yeah.
And that was our only constant. We played other gigs, but every week pretty much that we didn't have something else, we would be in there. So that was the genesis of the band current lineup, but also the band name came out of that residency too. So and shares a kinship with the great state of Kentucky in that respect.
Yeah.
We have bourbon. We have bourbon as the common ground.
Hey, we're talking to Stillhouse Junkies. They're from Durango, Colorado, and we've got a lot more music coming up, and we hope you'll stick around. You don't want to miss this, and we'll be back for some more conversation in just a short bit. Meanwhile, let's get back some music from Stillhouse Junkies.
Yeah, they keep trying to tell me all you wanna do is just use me. My answer, I'll do all that use me stuff. I said, friends, if you only knew, you'd wish that you was in my shoes, just to keep on using me. Keep on using me till you use me. Yeah, until you use me. My brother, yeah, he sit me right down and he talked to me. And he told me, I'm not to let you just walk on me. I know you meant well, but when our talk was through, I said, brother, if you only knew, you'd wish that you was in my shoes, just to keep on using me. Keep on using me till you use me. Yeah, until you use me. Sometimes you really do abuse me. Oh, you put me in a crowd of high-class people, and then you act real rude to me. Oh, but baby, when you love me, I can't get enough. I won't spread the news that if it feels this good getting you, just to keep on using me. Keep on using me till you use me. Yeah, until you use me. good getting used just to keep on using me. Everybody now.
Keep on using me.
Until you use me up. Yeah, until you use me up. Until you use me up. Yeah, till you use me up. Well, thanks again for joining us, everybody. And I think Brad was saying this is the 779th, was that correct? Of these, which,
Nice.
man, that is an incredible number of shows. Most of which have been done, I understand, in this space. 17 years worth of shows. And I also understand that the very talented Mr. Ed upstairs on the upper deck in the VIP seats, the Wizard of Oz, the man behind the curtain up there making this all happen, was the founder of this whole thing, and he's it's difficult to even calculate the hours that he has put into this, and that all the volunteers that you folks can't see behind the scenes here put into this. So we just want to give them a round of silent radio and television applause wherever you happen to be in your living room. Just give it up for the crew here.
Yeah.
We're going to play one of the first songs I ever wrote for you. This is called Over the Pass. Over the You know it's 20 more miles, gonna make it all down.
Oh yeah. That's Fred Kosak playing mandolin and writing songs. That is one of the first songs Fred wrote, and that one is going on a new record we've got coming out. We were, among other things, we were up to last year, including that IBMA award that Brad so kindly mentioned. We were able to sign a record deal at the end of last year as well with a label out of Nashville, Tennessee called Dark Shadow Recording, headed up by Mr. Stephen Mogen, who some of you all may know from playing guitar in the Sam Bush Band, and he's got a really cool boutique bluegrass label, really great studio up at his place, and we were lucky enough to go in and record, and that is a song on that record.
I believe the Sam Bush Band has been in this room. Have they? Am I mistaken in that?
Sam was here solo.
Sam was here solo. Okay, excellent. Well, that explains all the mojo, all the lingering, all the
No pun
lingering
intended.
juju.
Yeah.
We're gonna do one last tune in this little Mando set, and this is actually one that kind of takes us back to the origins of the band in that distillery that we were talking about in downtown Durango. I drank an awful lot of Michael's bourbon and moonshine, which I think would compare favorably with with anything you might find locally in the area here. You guys are gonna have to come out to try it, though. I don't think he ships out this far, but that distillery is called Durango Craft Spirits, and we actually shot a video for this song back by the still and up in front at the bar. And if you want to see what that place looks like, you can find the video. Anyway, this is called Whiskey Prison. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
on Texas ground and a coffin made of steel, just to keep myself from looking round for another glass to fill. This whiskey prison's where I'm bound to stay till my bones are 6 feet down. All the wishing in this world won't bring me round. Hey, round in this prison I will drown. In this prison I'll drown.
All right, before I tell you about what we have coming up next on Red Barn Radio, remember Red Barn live streams, both tonight's and on any Wednesday, remain available online for you to view at your convenience on the Red Barn YouTube channel. Our live video stream is also available on the weku.org website, as is our audio stream, compliments of WGAD.net in Central New York. Thanks, WGAD.net. Don't miss a single episode of our program, and be sure to tell your friends what it is that you like about Red Barn Radio. The Kate High Note Trio doesn't play your father's folk music. Based out of the Detroit area, this band features award-nominated Kate High Note on vocals. How about that for a vocalist? Matthew Parmenter on violin and David Johnson on acoustic guitar. The musicianship is just outstanding with these guys. You're going to love it. Detroit area journalist Jeff Milo describes High Note's voice as cinematic and operatic, a mood-setting, mellifluous intonation that fits inside candlelit lounges, late summer night, fever dreams, or as a torch song from a surreal soundtrack. Are you going to miss that? No, you're not going to miss that, are you, John? Are you going to be here? Yeah, okay. John says, you aren't going to want to miss this one. The Kate High Note Trio from Detroit, Michigan. That's next week on Red Barn Radio. Red Barn Radio, listen to the live. Let's get back to tonight's Red Barn Radio program. We welcome you live on our social media platforms, broadcasting from the Arts Place Performance Hall here in the city of Lexington, Kentucky. Let's hear some more music from Stillhouse Junkies.
Giddy up.
We're gonna do a tune for y'all. I wrote this during.
Yeah, speaking of co-writing, right?
Yeah, speaking of co-writing, this is actually a tune that I reached out to Becky Bowler out of Nashville. She's an incredible fiddle player, incredible songwriter and singer, and I reached out to her for some advice, and we came up with this little ditty.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Stack of 20s, we went on a highway jaunt, two-tone paint on a two-door frame, mountain bike and an open back, rumbling of a small block engine, gave her the name of Jolene to have. White shirt, blue jeans, red wings on, rolled until Green Mountain dawn. could stand to say goodbye. Oh, Jolino, how I miss you. Wish you'd roll on back my way. Memories hanging on a keychain till you show up again someday. White shirt, blue jeans, red wings on. Born until Green Mountain dawn. I had an El Camino, picked her up in old Vermont, ponied up a stack of 20s, we went on a highway jaunt.
Beautiful and talented Alissa Wolf, everybody.
Thanks, y'all.
Yeah, give her a howl out there in Radio Land, folks. I'm going to assume this is still in tune and tell you a little bit about this next song.
I've been assuming that this whole time.
Just, yeah, these instruments don't know what it's like to be humidified when they're out of the case. So they, this one especially was built in. This is an octave mandolin. This was built in southwestern Colorado, just down the road from us, and it's a desert instrument, so it doesn't know what to do with 80% humidity. Anyway, all that to say, I digress, folks. This next song is one we released as a single back in early May, and this is about my grandfather road tripping from Duluth, Minnesota, where he lived after World War II, road tripping out to the West Coast by himself. And he was a frugal man, grew up in the Depression, and he did some experiments before he left and figured out that he would save the most money on gas if he drove at 35 miles an hour all the way to the Pacific Ocean. And this is kind of family lore. Drove all the way to Big Sur, California, 35 miles an hour. This goes out to my grandpa Al. This is called Colorado Bound.
Hell behind me and up ahead, far enough to leave me in the night. It keeps me from my bed, but its name is never spoken. It's a fever there until it's gone, like there's something more than keeping on. Doing right's more than not doing wrong, without a winter fast approaching. California, and your sunny best for me. Oh, can you lay there waiting like an emerald by the sea? Come the morning when I'm nowhere to be found, I'll be halfway to Sioux City, boys, I'm Colorado bound. There's iron in my blood, it's true, but a man must do what he must do. 1,000 miles to somewhere new, and that road is always open. California, and your sunny best for me. Or can you lay there waiting like an emerald by the sea? Come the morning when I'm nowhere to be found, I'll be halfway to Sioux City, boys, I'm Colorado bound. darling, your Sunday best for me? Or can you lay there waiting like an emerald by the sea? Come on in when I know where to be found. I'll be halfway to Sioux City, boys, I'm Colorado bound.
Thanks, y'all. All right. Thank you.
We should play the other single.
Yeah. I don't know. Here's an interesting Stillhouse Junkies fact for all you folks out there in internet land. We don't ever write set lists at our shows, but it was required of us today to write a set list. And I still don't know what's on it.
The slave drivers at Red Barn Radios wouldn't have it any other way.
No, No, we're happy to do it. It's just a funny fact. A lot of bands obviously write set lists, and we used to, and
We never did them, though.
We never followed them, and after a while, we just decided to cut. And also, I think we'd forget to do them sometimes. and
Yeah.
Get
It
on
was-
stage and be
it
like,
was
oh, we don't even
stressful.
have the set list,
Yeah.
so we just Fred kind of drives the musical bus at shows, and we just kind of wing it. But we're pretending to wing it today for all of you. Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. This is a song. Right. Like I said, don't know the set list. This is a song we just released. I think 2 weeks ago, week and a half ago or so, off the new record. By the way, that album's called Small Towns, and there are 2 new singles out from that now. This one is called Moonrise Over Ridgeway, and we were chatting with some of the crew earlier, and somehow ended up in a little bit of a Star Trek discussion, which is a conversation that's right up my alley. And this song in particular is actually loosely inspired by a couple Next Generation episodes of Star Trek. It's about a couple of cowboys wandering around the Uncompahgre Wilderness, which is a little north of where we live in southwest Colorado, near Telluride, and one of them gets accidentally abducted by some aliens, and the aliens feel bad about that. So they time travel back and drop him off where they found him. And we'll see if you can get with that with these lyrics. I don't know if you will or
We
not.
have
but,
kind of a period-appropriate decor with these little lanterns.
yeah.
Fun fact, folks, if you play on Red Barn Radio, you each get to take one of these lanterns
That's right.
home.
These are the complimentary.
It's one of the many perks.
Loping across the meadow, early hours of the night. I am a lonely rider, another cowboy not in sight, and I'm out of time. Think I hear a bugle call, a high-pitched whirling whine, rumble of a steaming train, but I ain't near the line. Have I lost my mind? Deputy should be here, should have met an hour ago. Big I see his horse, there ain't no sign of Joe, so I pray for the moonrise. I see that moonrise over each way in the Uncompahgre, they'll be held to pay. I see that moonrise over each way, they'll be held to pay. There's fever in the town, Brother Joe went for the cure. Without the doctor's tonic, I'll be burying my girl, and I'm out of time. Flashlight around me, I spin and draw my gun. Should I stand my ground and fight? Should I tuck my tail and run? Is it worth my way. They'll be held to pain. Loping across the meadow, early hours of the night. I am a lonely rider, another cowboy not in sight, and I'm out of time.
Thank you.
All right.
Oh, yeah.
Hey. That's the way you do it?
There you got it.
Yeah, thanks. All right, so I'd love to hear each of you, if you would, maybe starting with you, Cody. You all pay attention to, because you all have the same instructions. You just need to do it one at a time. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about your musical journey with your instrument.
Yeah.
Where it started, where you've been along the way. Did you ever get sick of it and stop altogether? And then tag your portion, which I want to be maybe 3 minutes and 15 seconds. Now, tag your portion with a little story about an instrument of yours that.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, how's that? Do you remember all those instructions?
I think so.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah, so I started out as many do with my relationship to music. First with family. My dad is a bit of a picker, and but primarily he was in the Air Force jazz band for some years, and so he was a really good jazz trombone player. But he played guitar growing up. But he plays some dobro now, and he's always like messed around on stringed instruments and stuff. And then his brother, my Uncle Bruce, is also a great picker and a good singer. And Bruce used to come over to the house when we were growing up. I grew up mostly in Phoenix when this was going on. And Bruce would come over, and he was like the cool bachelor uncle that I had that lived in Tempe where the college was. But he would always do a bunch of like, pretty much everything. Rocky Top was one of his go-to tunes. He did some John Denver, he did some Crosby, Stills, Nash, did some Neil Young, that kind of stuff. And so getting into school, I picked up the trombone, played in wind ensemble in elementary school, middle school, high school, did some jazz band stuff. And while I was in high school is when I kind of discovered bluegrass. And I had already been playing a little bit of bass guitar, but no direction there. And for some reason, I don't really even know why, I saved up some money from a summer job and bought an upright bass. And, as the story of the bluegrass bass player goes, about a week later I had a gig. So, no, but honestly, I started playing with this band in Durango. It was just like a buddy band of some dudes that were, at the time, they were all in their 30s. I was like 15 or 16. I just started driving. So I was the young kid giving everybody a ride home after the bar gigs. But it was super fun, and that's like 100% how I like learned how to even play bluegrass bass and what really bluegrass was about. And then I took like kind of 10 years off after I dropped out of college. I moved to Austin, Texas, ironically, and didn't play very much music when I lived there.
And why is that?
I was going down a different career path. I had kind of discovered cooking, and I was really into that. I was a chef at some fine dining places in Austin for almost 10 years. I was doing that pretty seriously, and helped a friend open a place after a while, but then, kind of just got burnt out on it, moved to Atlanta briefly. Then I made it back to Colorado, and one of the things I wanted to do when I moved to Colorado was just play more music in general. I didn't have any aspirations to play professionally at all.
You mean like get back to it?
Yeah.
Because you hadn't been doing it at all?
Yeah, not at all, really. Yeah. I mean, I had a group of bartender friends that picked a little bluegrass, like some Devil Makes Three stuff and some trad stuff.
Nice.
But it turned into more of just a whiskey drinking event than it ever did much of a pick. So, we played casually and it was for fun. But no, didn't play seriously for almost 10 years. So it just kind of happened to where, as Fred mentioned before, when we all met, it kind of just grew from there. So I'm really glad that I moved back to Colorado, I guess.
All right.
Oh, and then you wanted a story about an instrument.
Well, sure, if you got one.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, all three of us, I think anyone that plays acoustic music has like some kind of interest in the instruments themselves and like a kinship with instruments and whatnot. And yeah, this bass, for example, I had wanted, I had been looking for, you know, the kind of standard upright for a lot of bluegrass bass players is like a vintage K or a vintage American Standard or a King or something plywood that's old that was made in the U.S. because that's harder to find these days. And there was a guy in Durango, Colorado who happened to have this in his closet, and I knew about it, and I asked him to sell it to me, and he said no. And a couple years went by, and he called me out of the blue one day and said he was ready to sell it. So I procured it, and it's a 55K M1. So it was made the same year my dad was born, which I always thought was cool. It was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to get this bass. And here you have it. Her name is Angeline.
All right. Nice.
There you have it.
All right. Hey, thanks, Cody. All right. Hey, Fred, you're next if we were to work our way across the stage.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it does seem like you guys, you have, I'm looking up there at the headstock on some instruments. I don't recognize that. It's not like you guys get instruments from Craigslist and Reverb and eBay like the rest of us do.
No, well, I'm fortunate to have up here on stage, I've got 3 custom instruments that were built for me by different single luthiers. What's that? Oh yeah, I'm sorry. Excuse me, 4 up here that were built, just hand built by one person, not the same person. But this guitar was built in Boston by my friend Ben Pierce, who's originally from North Carolina and is mostly a mandolin builder, but builds some excellent guitars. And this is a Sitka top on this guy, and Madagascar back for those of you listening at home. Just picture wood. And then these 2 behind me, that other guitar is a Yamaha custom shop, FG custom. It's Yamaha is about to launch a line of high-end acoustic, kind of, you know, targeted at bluegrass and folk people. And they've got one builder in the LA area in Calabasas building these instruments, and we got in touch after IBMA a couple years ago, and they sent me a prototype, and then ultimately Andrew built that one for me. And then I've got a Duff mandolin back there. It's made in Western Australia, and then that other one I already mentioned was made in Dolores, Colorado by a friend of ours who builds under the name San Juan Mandolin. So yeah, I mean, I'm fully like neck deep in the bluegrass instrument snobbery.
Well, you started your segment with the story of the instruments. The instructions were to tell about your
tell I
musical
don't
journey.
do this very
Oh, that's
often,
okay.
but-
No, that's all right. I do want you to include that, though. I'd love to hear about, you know, how you got into this instrument to the point where you play it so beautifully, and you know, just wonder, is that where you started with that instrument, or do you play other instruments as well?
My
Other than
mom got me
mandolin.
an electric guitar in 8th grade because she had a single O Martin from like the early, I want to say it's pre-war Martin that had been passed down to her, and I just started kind of banging on it, and she wanted me to have something else less valuable to bang on, so she got me like a knockoff Strat, red Stratocaster and a little amp, and I, you know, kind of hacked away at that for a while until I figured out some riffs and stuff, and then yeah, from 8th grade on, I pretty much played guitar straight through until now. I haven't really taken a break from it. I added mandolin. My mom took up mandolin a little while after that, so I was exposed to that, and then I eventually followed her and picked up a mandolin and kind of got into that, and but yeah, I've played bluegrass, I guess, since college or a little bit after college. I grew up about 20 minutes from a great bluegrass festival, Gray Fox Bluegrass Festival, which we are headed to next week, actually.
Oh, all right. That's out in New York.
It's in kind of upstate New York,
Yeah.
like west of Albany, and huge festival. Used to be in a different site closer to where we lived, and my mom started, after my parents split up, started dating a mandolin player, like Monroe-style mandolin player, and he dragged her off to Gray Fox to see all these great bands that came through, and I went along, I think, the second year that they went, and I'd never heard bluegrass at all. So,
How old were you?
I was would have been, I guess, maybe 16.
And what do you
16.
remember? in specific? What do you remember from that first Gray Fox, your first exposure to bluegrass?
I remember the Del McCurry band. I remember Ronnie McCurry playing impossibly fast mandolin. And I remember Steve Brandt was my mom's boyfriend at the time, kind of grabbed my sleeve and said, watch it, watch the mandolin play on this one. Because they're playing some, 190 BPM, instrumental or something. And yeah, just thinking like, wow, that's pretty. I mean, yeah, as anybody who doesn't know bluegrass and goes to a festival has discovered, it's very technically impressive music. And then I remember David Grisman was on the bill that year. And
Oh, wow.
As soon as his set started, all these hippies just kind of materialized out of nowhere.
Of course,
and
right.
Started sort of dancing in front of the stage. And that was like the token kind of hippie band at the time. It was a more
Old and in the
traditional
way
festival.
crowd, yeah, right.
Exactly. I saw Tim O'Brien and Daryl Scott before I knew who either of them was.
They playing together?
They were
for
playing the duo, yeah. They just
Yeah.
released Real Time. I think it just come out, which became one of my favorite albums ever. But a lot of that stuff, when I think back to it later, like, man, I just kind of walked up in front of the stage and saw all these greats. Saw Tony Rice back when he was still performing, and so that was my introduction.
Well, that's
Crash course in bluegrass.
I'd say that's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, thanks.
Of course.
And then finally, to Alissa. Would love to know about your journey. Did you begin with when you were a little kid, about the height of your bow, with Suzuki books plopped in front of you?
I was probably a little taller than this bow.
Uh-huh.
I was probably like here.
Okay.
I was 8 years old, or turning 8. And yes, I started with Suzuki. Good times. I have a complicated relationship with my past music self, as would any classical violinist turned fiddler, probably. I started out classical, and to both my parents' credit, they would take me to Albuquerque, New Mexico, because in Durango at the time, we didn't have a very strong instructional opportunity for students that really wanted to push. So my parents would drive me down to Albuquerque at least every other week. And the reason I even picked up violin is because my sister picked up the flute, and I was super jealous. And my parents said, well, then pick an instrument. And the only instrument I knew when I was 8 was violin. I was like, violin. So there you go. Studied classical growing up. My dad is a guitar player and a songwriter, and he used to take me to a lot of the festivals, so Telluride Bluegrass, Pagosa Folk and Bluegrass. And I remember being 15, 16, watching fiddlers and being blown away, but not making the connection I could do that. I thought classical was my only route. So I kept studying classical, but then like drooling at Sarah Watkins and Daryl Anger and Casey Dreesen, being like, oh, it's so cool, but somehow I didn't connect the dots.
So was there a point? Yeah, was there a point where the skill and technique that you learned as a classical player collided with the kinds of technique needed for fiddling, or did they complement each other?
They mostly complement each other.
Uh-huh.
I kind of did what Cody did, which is when I graduated high school, I went to college for music. And then 2 weeks into my college career, I dropped my music major and just started studying anything else. I just needed a break. And when I was in my mid-20s, I had the urge to play violin again. And I had taken it out to play like friends' weddings, but I'd hardly touched it in 7 years at least. And
Wow, what did it feel like to pick it up again?
really frustrating, because I had lost a lot of that classical skill I used to have. And I mean, it was really fun, but it was frustrating. And when I came back to it, I made a pact with myself that I wasn't going to read music. I was just going to learn entirely how to play by ear, which was a very difficult transition for a classical musician who always played sheet music and never learned to play by ear. So it was a really hard transition. And I found an instructor in the DC area where I was living at the time, named Mitch Fanning. And he started teaching me Celtic. We would sit down and he would just start ripping Celtic tunes and be like, all right, jump in. I was like, what? Like, are you gonna give me music? He's like, no, just like figure it out. So I would like try to learn by ear and had a lot of tears and sweat. But yeah, by the time I moved back to Durango, I was pretty determined to be a fiddler at that point. I really wanted to figure it out. I started going to jams and trying to fit into the scene, which I really wanted to be a bluegrass fiddle player, and it took me a while to realize that because I'm trained classical, and I would be curious if other fiddlers feel this way who started classical, you can't really take the classical out of yourself. At least I haven't been able to. So I've had to find kind of a melting pot of styles that's kind of, fortunately, exactly what this band caters towards.
Right.
So I got lucky there.
Well, these guys, you perform compositions. It's not just
exactly.
songs.
Yeah,
it's
no,
like
these are like
arranged, right.
thoroughly arranged compositions, which is super fun for me because it's, if someone were to throw me in a trad band, I could like kind of hang on. I don't know how that would turn out, but like
It just probably wouldn't be much fun for you.
Probably not. No, not as much
Right.
fun as this is.
Depending on the money.
Yeah, right. I know, right? Yeah, but yeah, I was the kid that like went to a classical music camp. My like teacher in Albuquerque pulled some strings, got me into Meadowmount School of Music, which is like this really prestigious violin camp. I lasted like 3 weeks. Left, flew across the country, and went to a Mark O'Connor string conference instead. Like, I just bailed on it because I was like, yep, nope, not me. And that was like when I was getting close to graduating and quitting for a while anyway. So
When you did your tour in Europe, did people want to hear you play Celtic, or did they want to hear you play bluegrass?
and I think people were pretty much down with anything bluegrass Americana related. When we were in Ireland, there were a couple jams and breakdowns where I threw a few Celtic tunes in just to like get the crowd going, but no one really requested it. I think they were super excited to just hear what we were.
Yeah, I bet.
And we were excited to share that. I mean, plus Celtic is definitely not my expertise. I can like do it, but
And you like it, right?
oh, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, quick instrument story, and then
All
we'll
right,
get back
quick
to some more music.
instrument story.
Yeah.
This fiddle, I'll talk about this fiddle because I'm holding it. This is the instrument I bought when I made the commitment to change from classical violin to becoming a fiddler and playing in bands. So I went down to Albuquerque and took my dad with me for the fun of it, and we sat there and I played like probably 15 different violins. And this one spoke to me. It's like a 1937 French violin that, until I picked it up, probably never played outside of an orchestra. Outside of a building. It probably never played outside. It's old. And I put a pickup on it, which, to the dismay of the luthier, was like, what? You're going to put a pickup? I was like, yeah. Sure am. But yeah, it's not much else to say except it's a great fiddle and very loud and very soulful and warm. And if I ever do play classical again, which never say never, it would be perfect for that as well. So it's,
Oh, all right.
it fits everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Thanks, Alissa.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Stillhouse Junkies, thank you all for making the trip. And this has been a really special evening, I know, for everybody here in the house, and then the many, many people who are out listening to the live stream. And we just, again, thank you so much for a beautiful evening of music. And I'm so happy that it's not over.
Thank you.
There's
all.
more music to play.
Yeah.
Stillhouse Junkies.
Thanks, everybody. Well, we're going to do one more here, but it happens to be really, really long. So it's kind of like 2.5 songs in one, which I think I noted. We're going to do one that I wrote about the Animas River that flows through Durango, Colorado, which if folks have visited, taken the Durango Silverton narrow gauge railroad up to Silverton, that follows the river almost all the way. And a lot of that area was unexplored until relatively recently. And some of the early explorers who went up the river trying to figure out where it went and scouting for mining opportunities, a lot of them never came back. And this is about one group of Franciscan monks who disappeared, never heard from again. And the name of that river, I will not attempt to pronounce it in Spanish, but it's River of the Lost Souls for that reason.
Evergreen?
Oh, I'm sorry. I just figured we would,
That's fine.
if that's okay.
Hey, okay.
Excellent. All right. River of the Lost Souls.
1, 2, 3, 4. In the canyon, 40 nights waiting on daylight, far away and long abandoned, 40 days by the riverside. And I came to you, a boy of 20, and I came to find you were the fighting kind, nothing to lose, all turned against me, laughingly I left him on the line. Roll me soft and rock me gently, like the one you always wanted for yourself. Love and loss, you've known plenty. If I dig my way silver, I'll be drinking to your health. So roll me down with good intention, through the chaos, through the cataract, on solid ground, found me protection. You bore me down, spinning on my back. And I took it hard, nothing for granted, searching for way up from the shore and falling darkness, empty-handed. Found fear of God and nothing more. So roll me soft and rock me gently, like the one you've always wanted for yourself. Love and loss, you've known plenty. If I dig my way silver, I'll be drinking to your health. stone. Settle out 'em, right up if you got 'em. No cause for shame, dying alone. But the devil's due, it was never given. No last rites, this time I realized so. Down through the night, ghosts of the living, old friends of mine carrying me home. So roll me soft and rock me gently, like the one you've always wanted for yourself. Love and loss, you know the plenty. If I dig my way to silver, I'll be drinking to your health. Told you it was long.
Thank you.
Well, there are so many people to thank for our program. First, Stillhouse Junkies, comma, our guest this evening. We're ever grateful for our volunteers and staff who make our production happen so beautifully each and every week. That's John, Matt, Kate, Forrest, Melinda, and Eric, and of course, our producer, Ed Commons. We want to thank all of you for listening to our webcast, watching us on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch, and those listening to us on the network of Red Barn stations and media worldwide. Thanks to WEKU, Red Barn's premier radio partner, NPR, for Central and Eastern Kentucky. Listen online at weku.org. It's your chance to hear more great live music from Red Barn Radio and WEKU. And how about this? Those of you here in the Central Kentucky area, you got to be sure to check out Red Barn TV. It's our weekly program of music, now on ABC 36 WTVQ. Red Barn Radio comes to you from our home, the Arts Place Performance Hall in the grand city of Lexington, Kentucky. Our website has updates and further information on our guests and our program. We're on the web at redbarnradio.com. And I'm thinking that it would be wonderful if we could hear one more tune from Stillhouse Junkies. I think I see something else on their set here, set list. I don't know if they're going to stick with the set list or not, but it doesn't matter.
Well, you never know, Brad. You never know.
So great to have you here. I'd love to hear one more tune.
Oh, yeah.
Stillhouse
Thanks so
Junkies.
much, everybody. Well, as we mentioned, we came out from Denver yesterday and today, driving all the way just for this. Then we're headed back. No, I'm just kidding. No. We're playing a bunch of shows in the. We're playing a bunch of shows. This is kicking off a little run of shows in the east and southeast. So please keep an eye out. Yeah, big run of shows. We'll be out here for a while, so send some friends our way if you happen to know people in those areas. We're going to do one of these small town songs that are this forthcoming record will heavily feature songs that we've written about the small towns we visited and played and lived in. And this is one about the little hamlet of Mancos, Colorado. This is called Mancos Kind of Saturday Night. Gonna see my little Sally, and I ain't a-coming home tonight. Well, I'll be filling up a jug and cutting up a couple rocks. My baby, she knows how to do it right. Hell, ain't got tomorrow, got some money I can borrow. I'll be looking quite a sorry sight. And every penny that I got is going straight into the pot, 'cause it's a Mancos kind of Saturday night. Won't you
meet me out tonight in Vancouver? There's gonna be some moonshine, Columbine, and a couple pairs of dancing shoes. But won't you meet me out tonight in Vancouver? It's the only game in town, and you can't lose. Uncle Red is up and Granny ain't a complicated man, but he knows how to get himself in deep. He's got $20,000 in a new place right out of town, but there's some promises that he can't keep. But when the whiskey starts a-flowing in your place, it he'll be going but the bottom of a fifth of wine. So don't you deal another hand unless you're looking for some leg, 'cause it's a Vegas kind of Saturday night. Won't you meet me out tonight in Vancouver? There's gonna be some moonshine, Columbine, and a couple pairs of dancing shoes. Or won't you meet me out tonight in Vancouver? It's the only game in town, and you can't lose. Keeping up a turkey in the straw. A rent is looking too unstable to be leaving on the tables. No one said it was against the law. In the morning, well, I want it from the sheriff, and my clothes a little torn up on my real bright. Say it was in the name of love, and then I'll head on to recover from a Vegas kind of Saturday night. Won't you meet me out tonight in Vancouver? There's gonna be some moonshine, Columbine, and a couple pairs of dancing shoes. Or won't you meet me out tonight in Vancouver? It's the only game in town, and you can't lose. Said it's the only game in town, and you can't
Oh, wow. All right. Stillhouse Junkies. Well, that's all for our show for this week, folks. You can see and hear Red Barn Radio worldwide as we stream live on the web on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitch every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Eastern in North America. You can also listen to archived performances on Spotify and iTunes, and you can watch mountains of video on the Red Barn Radio YouTube channel. Remember this, every like, comment, share, and subscribe helps bring roots music Southern style to your neck of the woods. Keeps us going. And finally this, if any of our featured artists are performing in your area, go out and hear them live. They need you now more than ever. From all of us here at Red Barn Radio to all of our friends worldwide, keep working together to be safe and healthy. And until next time, good night from Red Barn Radio.